Hi, how are you?
Hi, so nice to meet you face to face.
So nice to meet you too. Thanks for your fabulous book and all the
Oh my
content.
gosh, I love your background. Are you in your house? Is that your house?
Yeah, this is my home office.
Wow, I love the color coordinated books. That's so cool.
Thank
That's very,
you.
I
Thanks so
love
much.
that.
Thanks. Well, this is a super informal podcast.
Great.
You know this all too well how to do. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'll just say welcome. Oh, is someone else joining you? Caroline Holmberg?
Yeah, my publicist probably will listen in. She
Okay.
usually does, I think.
Okay. I'll let her in, but should I say hi? Hello?
Hi, Caroline.
Hi guys.
Hi.
I'll let you guys go ahead and start. I'll just stay on mute.
Thanks.
Thanks, Zibby.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Okay. I'll just say welcome. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, Tinx. Thanks so much for coming on Totally Booked with Zibby to talk about Hotter in the Hamptons. Congratulations.
Having me. This is the first podcast that I'm doing about the book, so I'm very excited to talk
No
about
way.
the best version of me. By the end, I'm like, oh, read it or don't, I don't care. So now you'll get the best, freshest version of myself.
I am totally honored. Especially from someone who has a podcast, which is so amazing.
Thank
And
you. You're so sweet.
I got to listen to you. I was going to ask you about the new adaptation of the book from the Foster sisters, and then I heard you talking all about it and how excited you are. But first, why don't you tell listeners what your book is about?
Yeah, my book is about an influencer who gets canceled and she has a steamy fling with someone unexpected. And it's a spicy summer read and it's very fun and juicy. There are some, deeper themes. You can kind of take what you want from the book. It can be as fun or as deep as you want it to be. And it's my first work of fiction. It is a work of fiction. I think people hear like, oh, it's about an influencer. They assume that it's about me. Obviously, they say to write what you know, and I do know a lot about the influencer industry, but it is fiction. And yeah, I'm so excited.
And what made you write fiction?
I had read a couple of articles about how romance novels were really popular, kind of regaining popularity and had sort of brought on this new life with Book Talk. And I'm kind of on Book Talk and I loved how passionate everybody was about this category. And I didn't know a lot about romance prior to kind of like a year and a half ago. So I started reading a lot of romance and kind of fun, like fun romantic reads and I really enjoyed, but I often found myself I I don't know. I found that a lot of the time the protagonist was so perfect. She was
Mm.
like a princess or she was like worked at an animal shelter, or she was like a neurosurgeon or whatever. Like these really, really perfect women, which I love. I think women are perfect. But I was like, what if, I love kind of intricate, messy women. I think we all contain multitudes. And I just kind of thought to myself, well, what if, you know, the protagonist, she had kind of, some flaws. And what if, the story wasn't as clear cut as just, some of the ones that I'd read, which were all fabulous, by the way. And so I got sort of started thinking about that. And then when I was growing up, I started thinking about, I read the Gossip Girl books and I loved them. And I remembered that one of the reasons that I loved them is because they were so replete with details about place, like New York and the Hamptons. And when I was growing up, all I wanted to do was live in New York. Like I was obsessed with New York, like so many young people are. And I would like write down like all of the things in the book. I'd be like, oh, they go here and they wear this. And it was back in the day before social media. So that was kind of my window into it. So I wanted to kind of combine all those thoughts. And it's also like a very spicy book. And I like talking about sex. I think being horny is a good thing. I think, it's human nature. My community and we really go there on the podcast. We go there on my Ask Me Anythings. And I just kind of all came together in this idea of this first book. So long-winded answer, but that's
No,
how I,
not at all. Basically, you decided to do it a year ago and you just whipped it out, and now it's like this great book,
yeah.
and the rest of us are just banging our heads against the wall. So thank you for that.
No, no, no. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been, I'm
Read a
excited.
few rom-coms, and you too can have a best-selling book.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it easier or harder than you thought? I mean, you have so many creative endeavors going on. Like, this is a different part of the brain, right?
It's definitely hard, but I really like writing because, I went to school for writing. Did undergrad English major, and then I have a master's in journalism. So for me, it's kind of a break from online, and I don't mean that in a holier than thou way at all. I am 100% addicted to my phone, and I hide under the fact that it's for my job. And so for me, when I write, it's using a different part of my brain, and it genuinely feels like a relief. And if I really want to get something done, then I kind of stick to the schedule. And so it's nice. It's nice to get away from my phone for an hour a day or whatever it is.
Is that how you did it? Like short chunks each day versus,
Yeah, short chunks. I'm someone who I don't know. I think this is very Virgo of me. I like to lay everything out, like literally so then I can fill it in. Because like the satisfaction of filling out a chunk, whether it's a paragraph or a chapter, is very satisfying to me. So that's like the only way that I can get anything done in book writing or beyond. Like I have to make it mini chunks and then just fill them out. Then it's not scary. Even with like big projects. I a long time ago I read an interview with Emily Weiss, who's the founder of Glossier, and I think she's really cool, and kind of she's been villainized in the media for I don't really know why, but she I remember like reading an early interview with her, and she said they were like, "Well, how did you start Glossier and into the gloss?" And she said she got a whiteboard and she wrote down every single thing that needed to happen for her to launch these companies and or whatever her website, like minute things, like figure out the font of this or whatever, like tiny things. And it was like hundreds and hundreds of things on her list, and she just went to work on them. And that has always stuck with me. I mean, I must have read that like 10 years ago, and it's always stuck with me, and it's always been a really helpful framework for me, so I use that a lot.
see, that makes me want to like curl up and do nothing, just have that overwhelming a
I
list.
know, I know. For me, if it's on a list, it's plausible. If it's not, then I'm like, oh, it's so scary. And it's just like a big thing to do. And I don't know how to attack it. So, but yeah.
So, in the book, as you mentioned, there are a lot of themes, one of which really is about figuring out who you are and what you want out of life. And are you with the right person? Is that person bringing out the best in you? How much are you willing to give to
Yes.
someone else?
Mhm.
So, tell me a little bit about that and where do you find yourself on that spectrum now? And
I think that, something I've always spoken about on my platform is how important it is as a woman to find yourself and to know yourself before your dog's cute.
I'm sorry,
Um,
she's like
no, I
shaking
love
and
it.
running
No,
around and
so
yeah,
cute. Oh, what's her name?
Naya.
Oh,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think it's always been super important to me, probably because I didn't do it for so long, and it kind of made me more miserable to not figure out who I am. And I felt very depressed and, you know, just kind of like a loser for a lot of my 20s because I wasn't focusing on the hardest but most important thing, which is to work on the relationship with yourself. It's easy to chase after, jobs and boys and money and clothes and all those things. Like that's an easier pursuit than just quieting the noise and going, okay, well, who am I and what do I want? And, finding your edges is so important. And so I think that's why I wanted that to be a main theme for Lola is, she gets a little lost, and we often do, right? We often do. And I've found 9 times out of 10, when you feel super lost, the answer is within you. You don't need to look outwards. You need to actually look inwards. As cheesy as that sounds, it's very true. And it's kind of, the theme of my first book. So I wanted to illustrate that somehow in this.
Sometimes, though, it does take these precipitating events, and you have the one in your book, but I feel
Yeah.
like life in general, like with friends or me, or like there, it takes some thing where life is going a certain way, and
Yes.
then it suddenly veers off, and you have to sort of come head to head with yourself and figure out where you go.
And sometimes you don't even know that you've lost yourself, to your point, until something happens and you're like, oh, like I actually don't know who I am right now. And so that was very important for me to explore.
Well, I feel like Lola, the way you showed it, it happens slowly. Like you don't lose yourself overnight. You lose yourself little tiny bits, and then you don't even notice.
Exactly. And I feel like it honestly happens to a lot of not even just women, but people in their 20s. I think 20s are a very mismarketed decade. And because of that, people don't spend a lot of time being introspective in their 20s. I sure didn't. You kind of leave college and you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but you have like a sense of self, kind of like, even though it's like super naive, you
Hmm.
kind of know who you are and you have ambitions and you have goals. And then in your 20s, you're just like, I hate my job. I can't find a boyfriend. I don't know what city to live in. Should I go to business school? Whatever. And sometimes it's kind of until it's not until you hit the 30 mark. I think for a lot of people, the event that triggers the introspection is turning 30. And then they're like, whoa, like, do I even want the same things as I did? Is this even the right path for me anymore? Um, and for me, and I know that's true. I moved to LA when I was 29 and I was so lost. I was just so completely off of the path that I thought I should be on and had been on. And it kind of took like, well, it took a million things for me to do some introspection, but yes, I think I want to encourage even young people to not lose themselves and to really get to know themselves. Like you should be your best friend, your own greatest ally. You should really know yourself. And I really do want to encourage young people to do that younger so that they can make good choices about who they spend their time with and what they spend their time on.
I think part of it, like, I'm much older than you at this point. I'm like 48. Like, I feel like it's easier for me to say, gosh, I wish I had clung to who I really was through those years. And I was like, maybe not with the right people for me or whatever. But I feel like when you're going through it, it's like you're on a unicycle, like trying to balance because you're changing as everything's happening to you. And it's like, it feels impossible.
It does, yeah. And it's like, no, you make a great point. Like it's not easy because in your 20s you are quite literally fighting to survive and you don't know, like you're sink or swim and it is really overwhelming. So I agree. It's sometimes it's a unicycle is a great, image to have in your mind when we're talking about this because it's really hard. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, I don't even know what I like anymore. And you have to relearn that and allow yourself the space to get to know yourself and reconnect with who you really are.
I think that's why, characters like Lola are so vulnerable to this passionate relationship with the person that, whoever it is,
Yeah.
right? You fall so deeply when you don't have your own guardrails up.
Totally. And you try to like create your identity around the people that you date, which is
Yep.
like another theme that I really wanted to explore because I think that's another trap that a lot of women fall under is like you know, and falling in love is amazing. I'm not saying don't fall in love in your 20s and have those amazing relationships, but it's very easy to just take on a role of the person that you're
Yes.
dating partner or whatever. And I think that for longevity, happiness, all of those things, you have to work on yourself and grow as well, even if you're in a relationship. Otherwise, you do get to that point where you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't really know who I am.
And that's why the allure of the confident other, right? Like Justin is so
Exactly.
together. Like he's a doctor,
Exactly.
he's got it all together. He's, you know, straight, he's got his path. And it's like, oh, well, I'll just jump on that path. That's good.
It's very attractive. Yeah.
Yeah, very attractive. You have a lot of fashion in the book, which is very fun. So I was kind of wondering on the side, like, did you have to think hard about these? Were these actual brand partnerships, or was it just fun because these are brands you love?
I thought a lot about like Lola and who she was. I did a lot of work. Like I did all of those exercises at the beginning where you go through like pages and pages of like what's Lola's favorite color? Like what's
Hmm.
her favorite food? What does she wear? Like what annoys her? I did a lot of that up front, which was honestly really helpful because I used it as my guiding light. And with the fashion, that's what came first to me. I was like, I saw her in exactly the boho dress that she was wearing to go to the interview. Like I saw her how she doesn't really take care of her clothes that well, but she loves them. And I really like I saw her in my mind's eye and that was honestly some of the first detail that came to the forefront because I love fashion too. And being in New York, I get to see the most fashionable girls in the world walk around all the time. Like I feel like even just walking to get my coffee every morning, I see these girls and I'm so inspired by them, how they put their outfits together and throw fits even on like a random Sunday morning. So yeah, yeah, that was a fun part.
Well, I'm sure this is probably in the works, but it would be great to have like buy Lola's attire shop, right? Are you going to do that?
Wow, no, that's a really good idea. We have to get on that. We really have to get on that. That's a genius idea, actually. Yeah. I love clothes. And again, I love when there's like those details in books. For this type of book, I think it's so fun to really see the little details of what she's wearing so that you can really imagine, what she's like.
Yeah, I was like, I would like to click on this page. I would like to
Yeah.
click here, some sort of interactive.
Oh my God, my agents are gonna have a field day with that
Have fun.
idea.
I would like 10% of everything you sell. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
absolutely.
Another theme is friendship, and it's like when you're going like with Lola, she's going through all of this excitement and lust, and she's so wrapped up in herself. Even the hard parts that often her best friend Ryan gets, she doesn't even think about him, but it's not because she doesn't care about her friends. She's very caring. It's just there is almost no room. And then, of course, she feels horribly guilty about it and all of that. And I feel like, especially when you're going through hard times, there is that tendency to feel like
Yeah.
everyone else will just be there, but you have to tend to those relationships too.
I think she's also like a little selfish. Like I wanted to make her, like I said, flawed. And she is a bad friend. Like she is a little self-centered. And, it's up to the reader to decide whether that's her personality or that's kind of a bad circumstance of her job where she just kind of takes things for granted and, Ryan falls into the cracks on that one. But like I think she's a little, that's like part of her journey is realizing like, oh, like it's not all about me. And another thing that I wanted to make, in detail is like Lola doesn't really have that many girlfriends. And I like that we get glimmers of that at the end. She doesn't have like a huge circle of trusted, girlfriends, which is something that I think is really important. And so I think that her summer is also about realizing like she being vulnerable with people and being there for them in return is a beautiful thing and something that can actually really help you grow and figure out who you are. Um, so yeah, she's like a little bit of a shitty friend, but I think she's by the end kind of figuring out what she needs to do to be a better one.
Oh, I feel like deep down she is a good friend. There's stuff
Yeah,
she's got in
yeah.
the way. I have a lot of hope for her.
Yeah. So do I.
So meanwhile, you've developed, Tinx World. It's like you have your whole universe and it's amazing. And the way you even talked in this conversation about your followers, like with such respect, like you're all a team, right? Your community, your platform. Tell me a little bit about that and how you grew that so well and so organically. I mean, yeah, tell me more about that.
I have nothing but respect for my community. I think I'm very lucky with the people that follow me. I always say the people who follow me are girls who want the best for themselves and the best for the world. And they're a very conscientious bunch. They are really hardworking. They are smart. They want to be smarter. And I think that I feel a duty to deliver great work to them, whether that's the podcast, whether it's a book, whether it's an Instagram story. Like I really try to add value to their lives because I see them following me as an investment. Like I see
Mm.
when they follow me, that's them like, putting their faith in me. So it's up to me to deliver. And that's kind of how I've always thought about it is I need to deliver. This is my job. And I want to make them feel happy and seen and engaged every single day. So that's kind of how I think about, feeding the community and being there for them.
Well, I've been following you for years, and I was just wondering, I mean, my husband showed me one of your Rich Mom videos in the beginning of COVID or something. So I've been following you since then and like laughing and watching your rise, and it's been very exciting from the sidelines. So very cool. But is there anything like you seem like you put it all out there? Are there parts of you that you have like off limits? Like I've said to myself, I'm not posting myself in my pajamas. That is my limit.
Yeah, I sadly post in my pajamas all the time. I do have things. I think I've drawn that boundary now. I've definitely share less and less in my personal life just because like I don't really talk about my own dating life unless it's like a small little funny story. Um, just because I feel like it was too confusing for me. I
Mm.
am a natural storyteller, and when I was at a point where I was sharing everything about who I was dating, I mean, this sounds psychopathic, but the line was so blurred between the story I was telling and how I was feeling, and I
Hmm.
couldn't separate them. And if you are creating content based off of your own personal life every single day, you can't find the line. And that scared me because I was like, I felt like I was feeling things so that I could make the story a certain way. And that's really dangerous and weird and scary. And so I just kind of decided that dating is like something that I'm going to do by myself. I share the funny stories or like the one-off dates, the mishaps, but when I'm dating someone seriously, it's mainly just private.
Awesome. And where do you want to take this whole thing? Do you have like a grand vision? Are you just rolling with it? Is there a goal out there that I mean, I know this adaptation was a goal of yours for a long time, and that's so exciting.
You. I really just try to follow my curiosity. I feel like now more than ever, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do in the future, but I know who I am and I know what makes me happy. I love creating work. Like I love creative projects. I have no interest in like being a manager or being managed. Like I like this life of creative projects. I'm so lucky that I get to do it. And like I said, I don't really know what's in the future, but I know that I'm super excited about the TV adaptation. I'm super excited about writing. So I think, and I love my radio show. I love my podcast. So I think if I get to keep doing this, a year and a half ago, I didn't know that this would be my next project, but I always like follow my curiosity. Like I just like had this random idea for this Hotter in the Hamptons. And I just like called my agents and I was because I was actually writing the proposal for a different book, another nonfiction book about like living on the internet. And like I had finished the proposal and it was like good, but I just like had this imagination thing and I was like, wait, I want to do this right now. And so I think just following my creativity and my curiosity, if I get to keep doing that, I'll be so happy.
What was the germ of the idea that you were like, I have to write this?
I just was like, it kind of all the things that I was talking about came together. And it was honestly a lot of my rich mom content, not even the big full starter packs, but I would write on Instagram like these more detailed, like snarky, like funny stories. I would just post an outfit and it would be like a random backstory because when I wake up, I free write and it's always like about a woman like in a cool life, like usually in New York. And people would always say, I want to know the rest of her story. I want to know the rest of her story. And I was like, wait a second, like let me combine all these things and like that's it. And that sounds so fun. Also, the other thing is like I always try to create what I want to consume.
Hmm.
So when I was like reading all those books, I was like, what would my ideal version of this be? I think about that with content. I'm gonna think about that with the TV adaptation. Like, what do I want to see? And let's make it that because I've always found that to be a great way to create authentic work. People are like throw that around that word all the time. Oh, what's authentic? Like, how can you be real? The most real thing to do is to create what you want to see because then you're
Hmm.
not thinking about, oh, well, other people, like, what do they want? How can I adjust it to make it more marketable or whatever? Create what you want to see. That's the most authentic thing you can do.
So true. That's excellent advice. And how involved do you get to be in the adaptation? Like, are you going to write it? Like, what's the
I
whole thing? I mean, they'll write it,
I'm an executive producer. Don't fully know what that means because it's my first rodeo, but I do know it's a big deal. And I do know, I mean, we already had our first meeting and they are so receptive to my ideas, which is so amazing and why I wanted to work with them so badly. So I am just really excited to dig in and learn a lot. It's my first time and I don't mind being the dumbest person in the room. Like I want to learn. Like this is an incredible opportunity for me to learn a lot on a project that I'm obviously super invested in and hopefully it's the first of many.
What do you think, like, the you who was writing down the Gossip Girl outfits would think of the you sitting here today?
She wouldn't believe it. I was thinking that this morning or last night too, because I was, interviewing Chelsea Handler for her new book. And um, I just don't think that she would have believed it. Like, I wanted this life so badly. Like, I wanted to write about fashion. I wanted to go to cool parties. I wanted to create ideas. I wanted to inspire women. And I just never saw the path. Like, I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And I just think she would be very thrilled and happy. So I feel lucky every single day. I really do.
Oh, well, it's been so wonderful to watch all of your success. And the book was so great and so immersive. I said this on Instagram, but my kids were around. I just kept having to close it because they
You're
can,
like, don't look over
I know,
here.
like, don't look at that word. I'm pretty sure you know what that
Oh
means,
my
but let's not
God.
talk about it. So,
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for reading and for this. This was so wonderful. And this was
oh,
such a nice start to the press that I'm doing for the book. It was great to talk to, someone who loves to read as much as I
oh,
do.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I loved it, and I'm looking forward to now shopping in your shop. So,
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you
yeah.
for the great idea.
Okay. All right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Thanks
to meet you,
again.
Tinx. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.